right, we have a few folks joining, so good evening to those who are joining. We're going to give a couple minutes so that folks can filter in and deal with any Zoom issues that they might be having, because that happens a lot. And we'll get started in just a couple minutes. All right, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening for our second virtual event and third event overall of the Plant-Based Challenge. Tonight we're going to be having a panel discussion with some of our local restaurants that have plant-based dishes, because we know that you don't necessarily want to cook for yourself every night. I don't think anybody wants to cook every night. Sometimes you want to have somebody else cook for you. And the restaurants that we have here tonight, as well as several others in the Ann Arbor area, are great options if you want something that is plant-based. Welcome. This is a part of the Plant-Based Challenge that was put on by a team of ambassadors, our A2ZERO ambassadors, who go out into our community. They learn all about everything sustainability, and they go out and they talk to folks about our efforts with the A2ZERO plan to achieve carbon neutrality by 2030. After they take their 12-week training course to become ambassadors, they do a final project, and this A2ZERO Plant-Based Challenge is the final project for a group of our ambassadors, including Rachel and Avni, who are with us today. So I'm going to pass it over to Avni to say a few words.
Thank you, Sean. So our plant-based challenge, the mission with this is to give the power to the people really to make easy decisions that can really help make a big impact on climate. If you were here at our Sunday kickoff event, you would have heard from Dr. Miller saying that there are a couple of big ticket items that we can do to really reduce our carbon impact. But the thing that is the easiest to do is to eat plant-based. And we don't necessarily want you to do this all at once. We're just talking little baby steps. And one thing that can be easy to do is to go out and eat. Maybe if you're eating out multiple times a week, maybe see if one of those meals can be a plant-based restaurant. And you can learn more about some plant-based restaurants here at tonight's panel and in today's emails. But I want to remind everyone that throughout the week, we have a couple ongoing resources that you can use while you're going on your plant-based journey. So we have VegMichigan's resource page, which has lots of recipes. And in every email, we also have our daily recipes. So if you do feel like cooking, you can try that. But at the end of the week, on our website, we have a bingo card, and we like to call it a bingo challenge because plant-based. And you can pick a bingo card. We have a beginner, intermediate, and advanced, and you can just check off a couple things to do to really improve your plant-based eating, because we don't want to necessarily make you flip the switch overnight. It's baby steps. So anyway, thank you for joining us tonight, and I'm going to pass it over to Rachel, who will be moderating this panel discussion.
Forgive me, I'm just going to interject very quickly. I knew I was forgetting to say something earlier, and I remembered what it was. I need to let folks know about the Q&A function. So this is a discussion. We want folks to be able to ask questions throughout. So we have some questions that we've come up with already that we're going to be asking our restaurant folks to talk about. But we're sure that you have questions as well. So please feel free to chime in at any point with any questions you might have, and I'll read them off. At the bottom of your screen, you should have a little button that says Q&A, has a couple of little dialog boxes. If you click on that, you should be able to type in a question. It'll show up to us. I'll be able to chime in and read it out loud. There is also an option for you to ask a question out loud if you'd rather do that. You should also have a button at the bottom of your screen that says raise hand. If you click on that, it'll raise your virtual hand, letting me know that you want to say something, and then I'll be able to unmute you so that you can ask your question. So those are the two options that we have. I'll be picking questions that are kind of related to what we're already talking about as we go through, but don't worry if we don't get to your question because it might be a little unrelated. We'll get to them at the end of the session because we have time at the end for a full Q&A section. So with that, apologies, Rachel, I will pass it to you.
Okay, thanks, Sean. Thanks, Avni. Yeah, well, welcome to our restaurant panel for the A2ZERO Plant-Based Challenge. Today we have 3 people representing 3 different Ann Arbor local restaurants. We have Doug with Cinnaholic, Yusuf with Harissa, and we have Thomas with Vinology. So I'm just going to start off by letting them introduce themselves, and then we'll start with the questions. So who'd like to go first?
I can go ahead and jump in. Hello, everyone. My name is Yusuf. My family owns and operates El Harissa over on the northwest side of town at the intersection of Miller and Maple, if you guys aren't aware of us. We've been open for about 9 years. We're coming up to our 9th anniversary in November, and we specialize in kind of North African and Mediterranean fare, so dishes from Morocco, Tunisia, all throughout the greater Mediterranean. And being a Mediterranean restaurant, of course, plant-based food has always been a large part of our offerings here. And we have always kind of held up community and sustainability as some kind of central tenets of our business. In the past few years, especially since the start of the pandemic, we started thinking much more about sustainability as a business, particularly because we've mostly pivoted to a takeout model, which of course means more packaging, more plastic, more waste. And, you know, it's hard to avoid, but we are trying to do what we can. So along with the city, and you know, I've been working with Sean for a long time now. For a couple of years, we've been trying to pilot a returnable container program with a few other restaurants in town. Cinnaholic actually just onboarded that, and we're also working with Zingerman's and Ginger Deli. So this is a program to kind of cut back on single-use plastics and instead replace them with containers that you can take home with you, rinse, and then return to any of the participating restaurants and kind of, you know, start a circular economy that way. We also have done a few things with like carbon labeling on our menu to kind of get at what Avni was saying, just like educate people about plant-based diet and how that has a smaller impact. I mean, we haven't gone as far as removing meat from our menu, but we have started to kind of signal to our customers that eating certain dishes, particularly meat-based, and even more specifically, kind of meat from ruminant animals, be they cow or lamb, has a greater impact than a more veggie-forward option. So it's just kind of been an education tool, as well as a few other things, but I'll pass the baton on to whoever wants to go next. I'm looking forward to this.
Thanks, Yusuf. It looks like we have someone else joining. I think this is Chef Alex, so from Vinology.
It is, and it looks like he used my link, so it's showing up as my name. So Alex is here with us.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Rachel. How are y'all today?
Doing great. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank you. Glad I could join.
Great. So we're just doing introductions right now to talk about who you are, how you're involved in the restaurant community, and how you're involved in sustainability and plant-based eating.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm Chef Alex, and I've been in town for a little while, since 2002, and have enjoyed the regular use of many local farmers, and even had my own farm that supported the restaurant for some time, a number of years. So certainly local vegetables are wonderful in Michigan. And we do have the most diverse vegetable crops in the whole nation. So that's pretty awesome. Well, short of California, but anyway. So we have been practicing quite a few sustainable things to go to containers, certainly. And but this vegan plant-based challenge is cool. We've been making vegan desserts and vegan ice cream, and we have a number of plant-based dishes on the menu. And I've recently discovered the joys of vegan butter for making pie crusts. So that's kind of wonderful. It works well. Yeah, there's a few things that we're doing.
Yeah, thank you. All right, let's hand it off to Doug.
Thank you. So I'm Doug Muller. I own the Cinnaholic Bakery here in Ann Arbor. We're right at the corner of 4th and Liberty. So right around the corner from Vinology. So I'm really excited. Vinology is going to have vegan options because it's close and I need dinner options all the time. So we're a bakery. We specialize in cinnamon rolls, but we do lots of other treats, you know, brownies, banana bread, soft serve ice cream, all that stuff. We're 100% vegan. Most people don't realize it. We don't really promote it a lot, a little bit within the vegan community, but yeah, everything here is 100% vegan. And our mission is really to show that you don't have to sacrifice anything to eat vegan. It's just as decadent, just as bad for you, but just as delicious as anything else.
Great, thanks, Doug. Yeah, I like that. Just as decadent and just as bad for you, but also can be very good for you as well. So I want to ask, I know some of you guys touched upon this a little bit already, but can you talk about how you guys incorporate plant-based eating into your restaurant? And was this a conscious decision? How did that process happen?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, Vinology, really customer demand, and it's just seeking more and more interesting plant-based options. So we started by having a number of entrees and appetizers that you could add meat to as an option. And so they were plant-based in their original form. And now we have, I think, as many as 9 vegetarian plant-based dishes on the menu. They're not all entirely plant-based. I think 3 of those are vegan, but there's 9 vegetarian dishes on the menu out of, I think, 26. That's a fair percentage. But yeah, I mean, it's just, it's smart. There's a lot of vegans. My daughter is a vegan for a number of years, and so she inspired several of the dishes with me. And I mean, it's just smart business, but it's also smart for the earth. And so not when you have a group of people, not everyone eats meat. And so if you're going to choose a place to go out together, then you have to go to the place with the most options. Not everyone wants to eat at a solely vegan restaurant either. So I mean, we do both. We've historically been a meat and fish restaurant, but now we do offer a lot of vegan entrees in the last couple of years.
Yeah. For me, it was a really conscious decision. So I've been vegan for more than 35 years, and I love sweets a lot. And And when I first discovered Cinnaholic, the original store was in Berkeley, California, where I used to live. And man, I was a regular customer and I loved that place. And so then when we ended up here in Ann Arbor, I was hating my corporate job and I was like, we really need a Cinnaholic in Ann Arbor. So I contacted those folks out there to see if we could open one out here, and they were willing to license all the stuff to me so I could do it. And yeah, we're excited to be offering, vegan desserts that are really delicious.
I'd say for El Harissa, like when we got started back in 2013, we always wanted to make healthy food. And so naturally, like vegetarian and like plant-based dishes were a part of that. But we weren't veterans of the industry, and we kind of learned on the fly. And so I think a tactic we adopted early on was to kind of open ourselves up to a lot of feedback from customers. And so from the get-go, we've tried to be as accommodating as possible. And I think that kind of was self-reinforcing. And as certain people came to us who had dietary constraints, if it's allergies or if it's like conscious decisions to eat more plant-based, and they're finding lots of options, they're going to tell their friends who are like-minded. And so kind of organically, we got this huge cohort of more vegetarian, vegan, gluten-free, what have you, customers. I mean, of course, always with some meat options, but by opening ourselves up to what the customer wanted, we just kind of organically grew our veggie options. And so today, I mean, at least 3/4 of our menu, if not more, is vegetarian or vegan. So yeah, you just kind of have to, as a food business owner, like we are completely beholden to the customer and their wants, and just the demographic that comes to us kind of wants these kinds of dishes. So we responded in kind.
Thanks, Yusuf. I noticed that both Yusuf and Chef Alex are talking about, the customer demand for these plant-based dishes. Could you talk a little bit about how that happens? Is it, like your regular customers are asking this, or are these just like people who walk in off the street and are looking through your menu and asking which dishes are plant-based?
We get a lot of feedback and inquiries over the telephone. So what vegan dishes do you offer is certainly a common question on the front end. I spend a fair amount of time talking to customers, and I know that I encounter enough that I also know they want variety and they want change. So, I mean, you don't want to go back to a restaurant a month later and see the same 2 dishes to choose from. So, I mean, I try to keep our entire menu fresh. We work hard to keep it rolling constantly. But I know that people need variety. So, I mean, in the old days, I've been a chef for a little while. In the old days, it's like, yeah, you have your classic one vegetarian dish. And of course, that dish never changed. And so I think those are days gone by. I mean, now people want fresh, and that's my job. I love to create things. And so I spent a number of months last year studying Indian food. It's always been a huge passion of mine to enjoy Indian food, but just in learning more about the vastness of the different styles of Indian food. So I started making a number of our own spice mixes for the handful of dishes that are on our menu. And, it's food. And so if you love making food, it doesn't have to have meat.
I mean, I would say, we're very open about how many veggie options there are, and we try to be as transparent as possible. I think, if you're looking back to like 2013 or so when we opened, it may have been kind of like natural to not be so forward about something being vegan as it might turn someone off of a dish. but I think people's attitudes have changed, and you can wear it as kind of like a badge of pride that something is vegan. And so yeah, people I think seek us out, and yeah, they'll call ahead, or they'll come in and they'll say what's gluten-free, what's vegan, and all of our staff are one of the first things we train them in is to know which dishes contain what ingredients, so we can very quickly accommodate someone's needs.
I get people coming to my store asking if we have any vegan options, and it's my favorite question ever because I can just gesture and say everything, and it makes people so happy. And so many people have dairy allergies these days too, so that's probably my second biggest thing is any dairy-free options, and of course everything is. So I think it's really accepted now, and people really love having these options. And I'm really excited, like regular restaurants are offering things besides quinoa and kale these days, because man, we were getting sick of that stuff. And having real innovative dishes is really nice. It's really nice and appreciated.
Do you guys think that there's a certain demographic of customer who's asking for these, or do you see it just across the board?
I'd say a lot across the board, but a lot of the students in town want plant-based options. Very common. And so we're always happy to oblige, and it's fun to get them in and see what they're expecting from us. I think it does skew a little bit younger.
So my next question is, what do you guys find difficult about having plant-based dishes or a plant-based menu?
Well, richness is a desire, richness of mouthfeel. So seeking the oils. Of course, so many oils are from seeds, so it's not necessarily an issue, but finding really good quality flavors.
So have you tried to overcome that by experimenting with different types of oils or seeds, or how are you dealing with that?
To buy really flavorful oils, to buy high quality oils is key, in my opinion, whether it's flaxseed or olive. Yeah. Yep.
I would say a challenge with plant-based is to kind of push back on the notion that like entrees, mains have a meat protein or a fish protein or something as the center of it, and then maybe some vegetables or starches around it, and that vegetarian things are more sides or appetizers that are kind of building up to the centerpiece. And so to kind of convey to someone that they can have a full meal and get all of the nutrition that they need purely plant-based it's just kind of like an altering of the narrative really of what a meal should look like.
So how are you trying to combat that misconception?
I mean, I label certain dishes entrees, and we kind of have thought a lot about the language that we use when describing dishes, and we've kind of tried to adopt. We did a project with a graduate student at the University of Michigan who was working on design techniques to kind of create nudges for consumers to have them consider switching from meat to plant-based. The menu that I was kind of getting at in my introduction, was a part of that. But design isn't purely icons and logos and images. Like text and descriptions can be falls under the umbrella of design. So and it's not just so the descriptions that we have on our menu board for vegetarian dishes how we train our staff to talk about certain dishes, talk about the complexity, the depth of flavor, all of the fun ingredients that we're playing with. You know, that these are things that we're thinking about how to present a dish. Yeah, these are techniques that we've adopted for kind of holding certain vegan, vegetarian dishes up as like mains, as like this is something to look forward to.
Very interesting.
I'll chime in here. We have a question related to the topic of oils. This is from Chris. In restaurants, is there a way to make dishes with no oil? Is this being asked for by customers?
I'll answer that since I mentioned the oils. There's always a way to make dishes without oils. Roasting is a wonderful method of cooking plants, and they can be roasted dry. You can spritz them with water to help them to cook and stay a little bit more moist on the outside. But that's about your only option. You can juice. Juice works a little bit. Orange juice is sometimes a good substitute if you want that flavor.
Yeah, I would say oil is a tricky one to avoid. We have gotten a handful of customers who have sensitivities to certain oils or for whatever reason avoiding them, and we have been able to put together meals. Usually it will be one of our salads, but instead of the default dressing, we'll give them a vinegar or something. And there are a few spreads that we have. So, I mean, to answer your question, it is tricky. It is possible. It is tricky. You know, if you come to El Harissa, we'll do our utmost to get you a dish or a meal rather that is oil free. But as of yet, we haven't been seeing enough requests to consider kind of like developing a dish solely with the thought of it being like oil free. And it's, again, we're doing Mediterranean food. Like olive oil is like our holy grail, is our holy water. So it isn't yet something that we're considering like removing from recipes.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so moving over to Doug, what do you think are some of the challenges with having a plant-based menu at Cinnaholic?
You know, baking wise, there's really not a lot of challenges. It's pretty easy these days to bake vegan sweets and not have people be able to tell the difference. You know, literally, most people don't realize we're vegan, and when we tell them, they're shocked because they didn't know vegan food could be good because they're used to the plain Jane vegan food we had, 20 years ago. So the biggest challenge for me is just educating people that, hey, it's not bad. It's really good. So that's why we kind of keep it on the down low until after they've tried it. And then we like to surprise them that, hey, did you know you just ate something vegan and you liked it?
Oh, very cool.
Awesome. On the topic of challenges, we have a couple of questions here related to that. First from Noel, we have a question. Does it cost more for a restaurant to choose to offer plant-based dishes? They sometimes see an upcharge for plant-based milks or cheeses, for example, particularly from chain restaurants.
I'll answer that, or at least from my perspective. Plant-based substitutes purchased can be expensive. Like meat substitutes, if you're buying them and then preparing a dish with them, can be very expensive. As are gluten-free breads, if you're buying them, are generally a lot more expensive than other high-quality breads. But when we're preparing everything from scratch, no, they're not more expensive, and they are not more expensive on our menu.
Yeah, I mean, if you're, okay, go ahead, whoever.
I think that's exactly right. That if you're preparing from scratch, they're really not more expensive. We buy the raw ingredients, and we could be buying non-vegan raw ingredients, and they're going to cost the same. And I was actually talking to the CEO of Better Health the other day, and he had an interesting thing. He was saying that the cost of the vegan foods hasn't really gone up like it has with regular foods, and he doesn't understand why. But like the vegan stuff he sells is price competitive with the regular stuff over at Kroger these days. I'm not sure why inflation hasn't hit the vegan stuff, but that's what he was saying.
Yeah, I would say I would agree that like a more veggie based diet is probably going to be easier on the bank account. But kind of getting at what Alex was talking about, I mean, there's two ways of thinking about vegan food. There's vegan food that's like made to emulate non-vegan food, like how close can we like recreate the sensation of having this, and then there's vegan food that's like proudly vegan and distinct, and you're like, this is something you can only accomplish with vegan food. And yeah, I mean, to find ingredients that are trying to emulate the sensation or the flavor profile of meat is kind of trickier and more expensive, but food that I think can stand independently as vegan, and the intention from the get-go is like to just make something delicious that happens to be vegan is usually more affordable.
Great, thank you. And then we have one more question related to challenges, specifically for you, Doug. Can you talk about challenges that you've experienced opening Cinnaholic as a franchise, as well as the many successes you've had since opening? And then they note that they think Cinnaholic is incredible, and they thank you for opening one in Ann Arbor.
Yay, that's nice. But my challenges have been plenty, but I don't think they're anything unique to being a vegan restaurant. I think any small business has the same challenges with staffing and city codes and all that kind of stuff. I think it's the same old challenges. Nothing unique about being vegan, I think.
Great, thank you. All right, we have some more questions, but we'll get to those later. Rachel, if you want to continue with your core questions.
Okay, sounds good. So our next question is, what are the advantages, or what's easier about making plant-based dishes and incorporating plant-based food compared to animal dishes that have animal-based products?
I mean, working with meat is kind of like a messy affair, and trimming chicken and grinding beef, and it's kind of the harder labor things in food. I mean, plants are more pleasant to work with, I'd say. Just if you're purely just thinking about the labor, the physical labor of it. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of restaurants, if it wouldn't affect the bottom line to kind of cut way back on meat, they would probably save a lot of time and a lot of headache kind of getting meat ready. It's so many more steps to kind of get meat prepared for consumption.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, it's just easier because, you're providing a quality product without having to kill anybody. That's what we're all about, is less violence in the world and killing animals without the need to kill animals. That's a good thing.
How about you, Alex? What do you think makes plant-based dishes in preparation a little bit easier in certain aspects than animal-based, or maybe you think it's not?
Oh, it's certainly easier, and it is just less messy. It's less work. Vegetables are friendly.
Okay. So we talked about how there's a lot of customer trends towards more plant-based foods. What do you think needs to happen for this to take hold and have a bigger impact at your restaurant?
I would say more demand. Just keep asking for it. I mean, the numbers don't lie. The more people order it, we see it when we have to order it and design new dishes. So, I mean, a lot of our dishes are from that demand from guests to begin with. So the more they want it, the more we'll make for them.
Yeah, I mean, we are completely beholden to the customer, and if they demand it, if it becomes clear to us that it is in our best interest to accommodate this demand, then certainly it will happen. I don't think it's a good business practice to once you've been in operation for a long time to make these changes and hope that your customers will meet you where you're going. I mean, certain businesses like Cinnaholic or the Troy Street Filling Station, which have started vegan, that's from the get-go, that's been the identity. I'm not aware of too many places, at least locally, that have kind of after the fact rolled it back and been okay, we're vegan now. It's because you build up a certain customer base and they come to expect certain things. So it's you become beholden to them. You don't want to upset them and turn them away. So any change would have to be gradual and would have to come from them.
And Doug, you're already plant-based.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited. These two restaurants are going to have some vegan options because that's great for me. So I'll be coming and increasing demand for sure.
Yeah, and so moving forward, how do you think the portion of dishes that are plant-based versus containing animal products will evolve maybe in the short term and in the longer term based on what you're seeing from customers? I know, Alex, I think you already mentioned that about a third of your dishes are already plant-based, or at least don't have meat in them. So how do you guys see that moving forward?
Do you mean in our individual business or as an industry?
Yeah, in your individual businesses.
I mean, I would say most of the new dishes that we are developing are vegetarian or vegan. So I would be surprised. Of course, I can't predict the future, but I would be surprised if the proportion of meat dishes on our menu increased in the years to come. I mean, it's from bird's eye view, the trend is towards more and more vegetarian, vegan options, and I think if I were to extrapolate out to the whole industry, that's probably going to be the case, just because of the necessity of it. But there will be restaurants that are doing vegan, vegetarian food that's trying to emulate the past experience of the equivalent of the meat dish that people have been used to. I mean, there's more and more companies that are trying to create plant-based meat, or we can get into lab-grown meats, and these are things that people are all kind of predicting will kind of increase in usage in the years and decades to come, just out of necessity. I mean, the amount of land that we have to devote to herds to then be slaughtered to feed people, it's just as the global population goes up, it's just can't be sustained. So I would be surprised if we don't become more plant-based, just because of the necessity of it.
Alex, you're muted.
Thank you, Rachel. Excuse me. I totally agree. I mean, we have 6 categories on our menu, and 2 of them are all garden-based. And I do not see that getting smaller, and would likely get slightly larger. But time will tell. I mean, certainly animal agriculture is under a lot of pressure. And so, yes.
Yeah, I'd love to see restaurants like you guys do more of that emulation of traditional dishes with fake meats. So often when restaurants do the vegan option, they give us more kale and quinoa. And that's not what vegans want. Vegans want regular food. And it's easy these days with all the plant-based options as far as meat and dairy products. So I'd love to see restaurants experiment with that stuff more.
Doug, would you eat a lab grown meat if an animal didn't have to die to make it?
I would probably not eat it myself because it still sounds disgusting to me, but I'd be fine with that. I think that'd be a great option for people who don't have an ethical problem with eating meat. That would be great for them to help save the environment and all that, but it's probably not for me.
All right. Yeah, interesting insights. So the last question that I have before we go to our Q&A is, what plant-based dishes would you recommend to someone who's just kind of dipping their toes into this, and why?
You should try the orange chicken at Panda Express. That thing is so good. It's completely vegan, and it's just like regular fast food, Chinese food. I mean, that kind of stuff is great to transition.
Aren't most fries vegan? Like most fries. But if I were to sell someone on something on our menu, I would probably, if we're doing a full meal, appetizer, salad, starch, entree. I mean, we have particularly good hummus, but everyone knows hummus. So we have a carrot spread on our menu called Mama Harissa, which is a North African carrot spread with Harissa, our namesake. So like a mild pepper paste, cumin, garlic, lemon. Get some nice warm pita bread with that. Then we have some really interesting salads. Our newest one is we call it the sun salad. It's got like a tahini and curry dressing, sweet potatoes, lentils, pomegranate seeds, feta. Then maybe some spice roasted cauliflower, baked, not fried. Some great florets of cauliflower, again, rubbed in spices and baked till they're like a little crispy. And then you want that entree, you want that protein. One option would be, we have this like chickpea, kale, onion, lentil stew that we called loblabi, a classic Tunisian dish that we'll garnish with fresh herbs and lemon juice and olive oil. If you have all that together, you're having a super healthy meal. You're getting all the nutrition, all the protein you need. And there's no meat in it.
That sounds amazing. I'm already vegetarian, but you sold me.
You can tell I'm selling this food a lot. I can wax poetic about it at length,
At Vinology, and my favorite new dish that I created a couple of months back is a black lentil croquette. And it's served with a red lentil masala and spinach in an almond cardamom cream. So it's 3 Indian style dishes on one plate, and the black lentil croquettes are leading the way. And you mentioned earlier about vegetables or not needing, it's not a pork chop with this, that, and the other. This is black lentil croquettes with red lentil masala and spinach and almond cardamom cream. And so it is a classic entree. It just happens to be all vegan and vegetarian. So there's a number of starters, and we also have a wonderful roasted cauliflower and a number of other dishes to choose from. One of my favorite new ones is called a pisto ratatouille, which is an Argentinian style roasted vegetable ratatouille. And so we're doing that with all local summer vegetables, and the little bit of juice that comes together after you roast them and then marry them with a piece of good bread is a really fine thing. And like I said, we do have some vegan ice creams, and we're just in the process of developing this beautiful coconut blackberry vegan tart that will be on the menu starting, I believe, tomorrow night. So that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, those sound amazing. I'm glad that I ate dinner before coming on the call, because otherwise I'd be very hungry right now.
I was just thinking that.
All right, well, we have some questions in the Q&A here, so I'm just gonna go ahead and launch into those. So the first one is for Alex. Vinology often has special dinners and wine pairings, but the menu items don't often include vegan options. If one wanted to attend one of these dinners, could they request a vegan option, or is the menu often set? They realize it'd be hard to accommodate 1 or 2 people with a special event, but offering a vegan option would be wonderful. And then they thank you for considering.
Yes, I would just appreciate a phone call. They often have meat laced throughout them, but it would be my pleasure to create vegan options for each of the courses. I've done that in the past with my special wine dinners over the years. Absolutely would love to.
All right, I'm going to do that.
Awesome, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next question is for Yusuf. Can folks bring containers that they already own, or do they need to get a container from one of the participating restaurants first to be able to reuse it at your restaurant?
We would ask to participate in the returnable container program. You know, we've checked with the health department, and filling people's containers that they bring in is kind of like a gray area. And certainly on the service side of things, it does bring up a lot of possibilities for like contamination and things. So, you know, we did pre-pandemic, returnable container program, kind of do that under the table. But we would ask, now that we have this pilot that we are, you know, working on growing, so that it becomes only more convenient, because convenience is always the name of the game, that you know, you participate in that program since it is available, and largely accomplishes, you know, the same end goal of getting a container out of the waste bin.
Great, thank you. We have a question for all of our restaurant panelists. I sometimes use the Happy Cow app to find vegan restaurants. What do you do to get the word out about your vegan offerings? And that's from Mark.
Yeah, go ahead, Doug. No.
I just say Happy Cow's a great app. I use that too. There's a new one called A Billion, which is also really good. So we promote in those apps, but we also just use regular stuff, Yelp and Google and all those things to promote. You know, when we do most of our promotion through social media, so Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. And in that, usually we don't mention when we're vegan. Sometimes we do, but we always hashtag vegan, vegetarian, vegan bakery, and all those things. So the vegans will find you that way.
Yeah, I feel like what Doug's getting at is that, you know, vegans are I think largely used to having to really search for options, and so, you know, yeah, we add hashtags to our posts. We're on Happy Cow. I just had a customer in a couple of days ago who found us on Happy Cow. But you know, just whenever we're posting, we're also you know, labeling our food as vegan, or promoting it as if that's, because it is like a positive thing. It's like, check out our new like all vegan, you know, spread, or we do gelato at the restaurant, and we have 4 vegan flavors. We always have, and they're labeled. So yeah, options for everyone.
Any insights on your end, Alex, on how you get the word out about your vegan offerings?
We don't do a lot of advertising, so we do on our website have our menu that indicates the vegan items, and hopefully word of mouth will help us.
I think a lot of it is word of mouth. Absolutely. Once you surprise someone with some good food, they will keep coming back and they will tell their friends.
Awesome, thank you all. And hopefully everyone that is attending this webinar and that watches the YouTube recording of it later tells their friends to go, because I certainly will be trying Vinology now. And I've already been to El Harissa and know it's delicious, and I've already had a Cinnaholic and know it's delicious, so. All right, our next question. Do you purchase the produce that you use in your plant-based entrees from local farmers?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. It's if the produce that you're getting to use for your plant-based entrees, does that come from local farmers?
From my standpoint at Vinology, Michigan is one of the largest produce suppliers, growers in the nation. And so we have a huge diversity of vegetables. They're not all local, but many of them, most of them are through season. And I do go out of the way to not buy certain vegetables, having studied agriculture for many years, the last 30 years in sustainable agriculture. There's certain things that cause a lot of damage, both to communities and to the soils. And so not all plants are created equal. And so I do spend a lot of energy studying what is truly sustainable. And, you know, some foods should come from elsewhere. But in season, we buy a lot of local things. We work with 2 farms in particular, and actually 3 farms in particular. But then I buy I buy strawberries from California. I do. So, but I think it's important to know how foods are grown and which companies do the best and treat the earth the best. And typically the very best products are sustainable. When you have non-sustainable business models and you don't treat people well enough and you have non-sustainable practices, that the food will only ever be good for a moment. It is not sustainable. So, but I take a pretty broad approach to sustainability. But again, we buy local where we can, but it's a portion of it is local.
The produce we buy, we mostly buy fruit. Fruit's a topping that we use a lot, and we try and buy local when it's available, because of a lot of its fruit, it's not available year round locally. So we end up buying from California or wherever it's available from. You know, bananas, we can't get locally grown bananas, of course. But our main ingredient here is sugar, and we have Michigan grown sugar. Michigan is the largest supplier of beet sugar, and man, we go through a lot of it here.
Yeah, I would say whenever possible, we source locally, and you know, the proportion of our ingredients that are sourced like locally kind of fluctuates. Our more specialty ingredients will go to like Dearborn and Detroit to get, but you know, one thing to know about restaurants is it's like few restaurants are sourcing from the same places all the time, and prices are always going up and down, and it's a very like slim margin industry, as I'm sure you all know or I've heard. So we are always kind of, it is something that you have to be constantly looking at, evaluating, and looking for more affordable options. So you know, over the years, we've sourced from many different farms locally, and just kind of and built some great and long-lasting relationships with local farms and organic farms. But you know, we've kind of worked our way around and are always kind of looking for the most sustainable, economically and for, you know, the planet options out there.
Great, thank you all. And then I'm seeing one more question here in the Q&A function. It's asking, how did the trends towards plant-based diets in Ann Arbor reflect the wider restaurant industry? I don't know if any of you have any insights into what this trend looks like maybe in the rest of the country, if you have any other businesses that you talk with or anything like that.
Yeah, not for me.
I mean, just from, as a consumer of news, I can see that, like, kind of in higher end dining, a lot more chefs are trying to be more plant-based, and in food it can kind of, trends can kind of trickle down, and so I do believe that in most big markets in the United States, things are overall trending to vegetarian. That being said, Nashville hot chicken is like the new hot thing, so who knows?
It seems like it's kind of more of a trickle up these days, where it's like the fast food industry is really embracing vegan food. Kentucky Fried Chicken, Burger King, McDonald's, all these fast food places are doing great with vegan options, and the more fancier restaurants are starting to add more options now that they're seeing the demand for it. So I'm excited about it.
Awesome, thank you. Well, I'm not seeing any more questions at the moment, so I think we are getting close to the end, but I wanted to open it up to any of our restaurant participants. If you had anything else that you wanted to talk about that we didn't cover tonight, feel free to chime in.
I'd just like to thank you for inviting us, me.
Yeah, excited to hear everyone's excited as well.
Yeah, and if anyone who's participating here, or any of the guests tonight, want more plant-based options at your local restaurants, I mean, communicate that. And our ears are open, and we just want to make our customers happy. So yeah, don't withhold if you want more options. Speak your mind. And thanks for having me.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Yeah, well, thank you all for joining us. Thank you to our audience for joining and listening. Thank you again to Avni and Rachel. And hopefully those who are watching, you'll have a chance to enjoy food from all three of these restaurants at some point in the future. If you're coming to our plant-based pizza party this Friday in Gallup Park, we will have some of the vegan cinnamon rolls from Cinnaholic available there for dessert. One of our gift cards that we're giving out as a prize for the bingo challenge is actually to El Harissa. So if you're the lucky winner of that gift card, then you might be able to enjoy some of their food. And Vinology actually provided a recipe for one of their dishes that we sent out in an email, I believe, last night. So go check that out if you want to try making one of their dishes at home. And otherwise, hopefully you'll be able to get out and eat at these restaurants at some point. And just as a reminder, tomorrow we are having our webinar on plant-based eating and nutrition. So we're going to have a couple of local healthcare providers talking about how you can get a fully balanced diet out of eating plant-based meals, and talking about how eating plant-based can, if done properly, be healthier for you than eating food that has a lot of animal-based products in it. So hopefully we will see you at that webinar tomorrow. But for now, we will say good night and thank you all again.
Good night. Thanks, guys.